Please do come in and grab a seat. I'm going to do a session about specifically using AI in marketing. We've had a lot of information about what AI is and its varying different forms in big business and in small businesses and different use cases. So I'm going to dive into a little bit more detail in one area, which is in marketing. So my name is Matthew Rigby-White. I'm the CEO of Qoob. We are simplest way to explain this is a digital marketing agency, but we work in a fairly consultative, strategic way. And ultimately what we're all about is empowering brands to achieve great marketing. So that is ourselves. What I aim to do today is share some of my advice and my experiences about how we're using AI in marketing and how we've seen other businesses apply AI in marketing. Get a bit of an understanding in context of where we are at the moment in the sort of life cycle really of 2 years ago, ChatGPT came to the masses. Where were we then? Where are we now? Where I think we might go in the future. And then some practical things you can go away and have a look at and maybe apply within your own businesses. I know we've got a wide range of different types of businesses in the room. Apologies, this might not be as technical as a couple presentations that went before. The way I look at it is it's almost as if Warp Speed's been engaged in marketing terms. The concept of Web3, has everybody heard of Web3 at some point over the last maybe 5 to 10 years? It's something that's been talked about for a long time. So we're currently, I guess, we're in the era, I think, where we're finally moving into the world of Web3. It's been talked about for a long time. But why is it Web3 and not Web2? Well, Web1 was the initial sort of iteration of the internet. It was, search engines was probably about as good as it got with the first iteration of the internet. The second iteration of the internet really came about through social media and how we use the internet in a very, very different way. No longer just about finding information. It then became about being a social a community almost, a way of connecting, sharing information and ideas. Web3 is that next iteration. It's that next step where actually the web becomes a really powerful tool. Things like adoption of smartphones over the last 10 years have been an example of how the web is now touching our day-to-day lives. You've got things like the Internet of Things. If everybody's got Alexas or Google Homes in their house, those are kind of the foundation blocks of what I see Web3 as. So there's really exciting stuff going on. Over the last 2 years, I think the last stat I saw was something in the region of around 20,000 new applications and software platforms have been built off the back of AI. So they didn't exist pre-GPT or pre-OpenAI. They're new platforms, and that's not taking into account all of the existing software platforms and applications out there that are now ingraining AI in what they do. And I think that number's probably tiny in comparison to what's actually out there these days. So, part of my job today is to say, hang on a minute, there's really exciting stuff going on. Really, really exciting stuff. We are moving faster than I think we've ever moved before. Described it as the next industrial revolution. I saw a seminar about a year and a half ago where it was described by a computer scientist as being more as having the capability of changing how we do business more than COVID did. And look how transformative COVID was in terms of how businesses had to adapt and pivot and change how we, plan our office spaces, how we hold meetings, how we do our work. So I think AI and where we are right now in Web3 technology has the potential to really transform how we do work. But what I want everybody to just do and appease me with for the moment is just taking a step back, and it ties in with what Andy was saying, which is understanding what the problem is you're trying to solve first. And in my marketing speak language, that is about strategy. Understanding the problem you're trying to solve. Another really simple way of looking at it is, what is the why? Why are you doing this in the first place? before you get into the how. Because if you start with the problem, then you can start narrowing down possible solutions. Strategy before tactics is the way I talk about it in the world of marketing. You know, you need to know as a business owner where you plan to take your business over the next few years before you start looking at how much we invest in marketing, which channel, which routes to market, who are our customers, what are our target audiences. You need to do all of that groundwork in strategy first before you go out there and start marketing your business. It's the same thing with AI. So I just want to recap quickly where I think we are. So 2022, 2023, ChatGPT was launched tail end, I think 2022. There'd been iterations before that. That was ChatGPT version 3, and then we had 3.5, and then ChatGPT 4 was when it really took off, and that became the sort of popular version of ChatGPT we know today. The reason why I've put a cat on there, not just because I love cats and I work in marketing and cats are like a meme thing and everybody, you know, uses cats in different ways to express themselves, but that is an AI-generated cat, and it's typical of the type of thing that I think people were doing with AI when they first came across it. You know, playing with it, using it as a bit like a toy, really. Oh, this is cool. What can it do? Right? That was really what I saw in 2022 and 2023, and certainly when I first played with it, generating cats was kind of up there with the type of things that, you know, everybody was doing. So, other stuff going on, by the way, because AI doesn't sit in isolation, other stuff that was going on around AI in the sort of technology world was this thing called virtual reality. I'm sure you've all, literally in the last few weeks, seen Apple's Vision product that's been launched a few years later than some of the competitors, but actually, you know, Apple has such a huge following that I think virtual reality is going to really come back into the fore. Augmented reality, we were seeing brands using augmented reality years ago, and it's slowly getting there. You know, even things like, you know, people scanning QR codes has become like the norm since COVID. A lot of things were going on around crypto as well. It was becoming really, really popular. But actually, sort of 2023, it started to become like, oh, that's the kind of fad that's over with now. And it's interesting to see what's happened since then. And actually, crypto's really picked back up. NFTs, those around the room, put your hand up if you know what an NFT actually is. Cool, there's quite a majority. The non-fungible tokens. Again, some crazy stuff going on with NFTs, you know, in terms of people spending ridiculous sums of money buying effectively digital artwork. And all sorts of potential practical applications, but not really getting any traction. In business generally, and certainly the conversations I was having at the time, lots of people discovering the technology, but not really sure how to react, and I would summarise it in that last line as being quite clumsy. If they did try to implement anything, it was very clumsy. Trial and error, a lot of cool stuff, basically. So if that was 2022, 2023, this is where I'd say we are now. And also I used a cat in the previous one. Here's a meme to back that up. I think, this is the feeling I get anyway, that we're now starting to move towards smart implementation. What we're seeing in the market is more prevalence with things like augmented reality, resurgence of an interest in cryptocurrency. Has everyone heard of Bitcoin? Yeah, so this is the government's plan to release their own cryptocurrency. We'll see how that goes. Smart contracts is becoming a more popular phrase. You know, the subject of the metaverse and VR and all of this. All of this is going on around AI. Advancements in robotics, which isn't even on there. Lots of things going on in robotics as well. But what I'm seeing in business when I'm talking to business owners is that they're now starting to go, I get it. And now how can I use it? What problems is it going to help me solve? And I think that's probably why the majority, at least, of you are here today, is to understand more about how you can actually use it. So a lot more focus on implementing AI within business. Some big investment made by a lot of big tech firms in integrating AI into their products. And for me, in my little sphere of digital marketing, a lot of reworking of digital strategies, looking at how we can use AI to either deliver a better service or to implement efficiencies or in very focused bits like Google Ads, how we can reduce wasted ad spend, right? Lots of really practical implementations. But what I think businesses really need to do is start moving. Start, as Andy put it, looking at test cases, looking at small trials within their business, and also developing policies around AI in your business. There was a few people that hadn't used ChatGPT in the room, and we've talked about ethical issues as well. If you as a business owner decided, you know what, I want no part of this, I don't want to be involved in AI, if you've got employees, I guarantee they do, right? So whether you're on the ship or not, the people that work for you and the partners around you, they will likely be on the ship. So you really need to understand that it isn't just you making that decision for your organization. It'll be the people within it and the culture within the business that will dictate whether they use AI or not. And they might not even tell you they're using it, right? Large businesses, I've seen a few articles lately about appointing chief AI officers within their organizations, and that kind of shows you, gives you a bit of an idea as to where big businesses think, how significant they think this is going to be within their organizations. So, 2025, let's look forward a little bit here. What do I think? I think we're going to have to wait and see, quite frankly. I think we can all make some guesses. We can look at what's going on in the market over the last year, have a bit of an idea of what might happen. The reason why I'm saying in many ways we'll have to wait and see is because I actually want people to just focus on the now and what they can do right now and look at their strategy today for adoption of AI and moving that forward. But the real reason why we can't really with confidence say what AI is going to do or technology is going to do in a year from now is because of the doubling time. You know, that's a very simple graph to understand. The time it has taken for the technology to go from the first iterations of ChatGPT to where we are today, and all the other technological advancements that are going on around it, like quantum computing, didn't even mention that. You know, all of these things are having a big impact, and they are doubling faster each time. The iterations are getting faster and faster and faster. Here's an illustrative example. So these are generated with Midjourney, if you're familiar or have heard of Midjourney. Version 1, top left, through to version 5.1. I think we're now on version 6. So even this slide is out of date already. This one's nice because it shows you some dates on there as well. Just ignore that last date because that should say 2023. But again, you see February 2022, moving right the way forward into the level of detail that we're getting in May 2023. Quite substantial change, and that's just in one area of AI technology. Text to video generation. Again, this is all generative AI. So, I kind of wanted to frame all of that in context before I dive straight into like how can we use it today in marketing. And to be honest, 30 minutes is not a long time to talk about it. And I won't. There's just no way I could do a talk all day and we still wouldn't scratch the surface really of all of the possible applications of AI just within marketing, let alone other parts of your businesses. But this helps explain. Have people come across these similar sorts of charts before? Reach, act, convert, engage. There's different variations of them, but they're generally the funnel that you'll see. And as you can see, each of those touch points, I won't read them all out, but each of those touch points is an area where AI is already being used. It's already being used. And actually, for any agencies or anybody that uses Google Ads in the room, you'll know about Performance Max campaigns, potentially, which is something that was launched a couple of years ago now, which is Google Ads, the modern way, really, of doing Google Ads. And it's all AI-driven. We don't actually tell Google who to target. We just feed it data. We feed it source information and it goes and finds those customers for us. And that's getting better with time as well. So that's the ad targeting side, but AI generated content, that's obviously something that most people in the room have probably had a play with at least. Ideation, chatbots have been mentioned further up the funnel, and even getting into things like hyper-personalization. And again, I'm going to touch on that in a moment. But that's the sort of buying cycle. I can answer questions on that in a bit. So I just want to give you a few examples. How much time are we on? 5? 10 minutes? Cool. I'm going to have a glass of water then. Yeah. 3 practical use cases, and it is just 3. There's so many, and they get progressively more complicated as we go along. So I'm trying to give a really simple example for those in the room that haven't used AI before and maybe want to go away and have a play with it, and then you're getting into more complex implementations and ways it can be used. Again, this is all just in the realm of marketing. So start with the why. I want to improve the customer experience on my website and make my knowledge accessible, right? Here's an example of how you could do that. There are lots of different ways and there are lots of different products on the market. Custom GPT is one that I've come across that's really easy to use, and that's the reason I put it up on the screen, because actually anybody that knows how to use, basic online tools will be able to work this out for themselves. Why custom GPT? Well, it is built on top of ChatGPT first and foremost, so there's no radical technology under the hood. It is ChatGPT. But what custom GPT allows you to do, and again, this is in the sphere of marketing, is to plug in a website sitemap, for example. So lots of people over the years have invested lots and lots of time, effort, energy, and money in building out knowledge bases on their website. It might be around a particular product, it might be support articles, it might be blog content. I know a couple of people in the room, and I know they've produced a lot of really helpful, valuable content over the years. That wasn't written by ChatGPT. It's good quality content. Because you can plug a sitemap in, Custom GPT can crawl all of the content on your website. It can then build effectively its own knowledge base off the back of that, and it can use that information to help it with responses to prompts. You can also feed in documents. So if you've got tone of voice documents, if you've got offline content that isn't available on your website but you want it to take that into account, you can feed in that. You can feed in data, all sorts of stuff. You can just upload files to it, and it will then learn from all of that. And then what it spits out the other end is a chatbot. Okay, and it's actually one that you could stick on your website. I would urge caution sticking it on your website, unless you're going to put really clearly that there's an AI-powered experimental chatbot, because of all the conversations we've had earlier today and around guardrails. But what it can help you do is, if it understands your content and it understands how you solve problems and it understands your tone of voice and how you speak to customers, then it can frame responses with all of that in mind. And all of a sudden it becomes a really personalized chatbot that you can use within your organization, i.e. not public facing, to help you with writing new content, coming up with ideas or answering problems within your organization. And this was originally marketed as a chatbot, so you can just use it for that. You could put it on the front end of your website, and it can. And what's really nice about it is when it does give responses, it cites the sources, right? So we talked about citing sources earlier. Really important for the end customer to know where they can actually check that information is correct, which is quite clever that it does that. But this is so plug and play that you can go on there, you can sign up for it, have a play with it, put your website sitemap in, and you're probably up and away within 15, 20 minutes. It's that easy to use. So wanted to start with that one, because it's something that everybody can go and try if they want to. I don't get commission, by the way. And there are other products like Custom GPT available. There is actually a demo on that URL if you want to have a play around with it. Another example, I want my customers to feel closer to my brand when visiting my website so that they spend more. Right, okay. There are tools out there that are on the marketplace at the moment. There's some logos across the bottom there, just 4, Optimizely and Telemize, Dynamic Yield and VWO. Those are just some software platforms out there targeting this sort of use case. What this is all about is making your customers feel loved. It's the hyper-personalization piece that I mentioned earlier. Oh, okay. I thought you had a question, Martin, to be fair. No, 5-minute warning on that. So there's a screenshot there just showing you an example. That's the same website. It's just changed the design and the message and the color scheme and the imagery used based on who it thinks you are as an end customer. So quite powerful for those that are, looking to personalize their website experience, all these tools work in subtly different ways, and you have to feed different data sources in for it to, and they learn their models, they're learning over time. But ultimately what this is about is making that customer feel like home when they land on your website. It feels like, I'm home, I've arrived, this is the brand for me. And we're going to see a lot more practical applications of hyper-personalization as we move forward. Again, there are legitimate concerns around GDPR and data collection, that are things that we're going to have to get past as we move forward. Google, for example, have really cracked down over the last year on implementation, finally, of GDPR. You would think it's not been around for a number of years, but they've really come down on it. So it's something to have a look at, and there are tools out there that you can investigate and play with. I have a limited budget, and I want to make sure I'm investing my advertising spend wisely. Propensity models, it's a word that I always struggle to get out of my mouth. Predicting the likelihood to buy. This is where sales and marketing cross over. Imagine your sales team, if you have a sales team, let's just assume you do, you've got a bank of salespeople and you've got thousands of contacts in your list that you could be calling. Do you think it'd be really great if they could know at any one time that the 100 people in that list that are most likely to buy right now? From a marketing perspective, we're working within advertising budgets, so we get allocated a budget that we can spend, and we want to get the best results out of that spend. Now, if somebody's got a very low propensity to buy, i.e. they're just not interested in your product, they've got no intention of buying from you whatsoever, do you want to waste advertising budget on those people? Equally, the other end of the spectrum, there's people out there that are ready to buy from you, and actually they're going to buy from you. Whether you market to them or not, they're going to come to you when they've got that need. They're going to buy from you. They won't go anywhere else. People who are Apple fans are probably people who have a high propensity to buy from Apple, right? They're quite loyal following. I'm a Samsung fan, so I would never go anywhere else. But those people that are raving fans are probably people with a high propensity to buy. So you don't really want to spend a lot of money advertising to them either. It's the people in the middle, the people that could be swayed one way or the other. They're the people you really want to invest your budget in. So if you had £100,000 and you were splitting that 3 ways, you're wasting at least 2/3 of your investment. If you put that £100,000 into the medium category, the people that could be swayed, all of a sudden you're getting return on investment. Pecan is a solution out there, and this is why I said they get progressively more complex to actually implement. Pecan is one that I've come across and we're experimenting with at the moment, where you can plug in data sources and it will try and do some predictive analysis for you to give you some helpful insights. But this is where you're getting to needing to be able to understand databases and structures and how they work and how to query data and how to clean data. And that's where my fellow speakers are way more experienced than I am. I just want to talk about generative AI types. That's a big long list of types on the screen there. We've got 2 minutes now, I imagine. Yeah. Content ideation, ChatGPT, Gemini. If you want to take a picture of that, those are basically in brackets tools that you can do that with. And there is some crossover because the reason why there's crossover is we're now moving into something called multimodal models. This is where we're seeing ChatGPT. When you first started working with ChatGPT, it was the most rudimentary AI chatbot there was. It was ask a question, get something back, ask another one, get something back. You can now upload images to ChatGPT. You can have it generate images natively within ChatGPT. You can upload spreadsheets and get it to analyze data. It's doing more and more and more. So by multimodal, we mean taking as many of these different use cases as possible and building them into a single model. And I think we're going to talk about Copilot in a bit, and I think that's an area where we're going to see that becoming more and more powerful. Any on there that you're like, what the heck is that? Any examples on there? Okay, must all make sense. Right. But generally it's put something in, get something out. Right? So, I'm going to wrap up, but I just want to finish. I talked about some use cases, some things you can go and have a look at. There are loads. We could talk all day. And I touched on having a strategy before you do anything, and Andy also made a point of saying have a business problem. But for me, before you do absolutely anything, just remember, particularly if you're working direct to consumers, but actually people, period. So other business people buy from people. What they care about most is trust and privacy and authenticity. We have seen a movement across, we've all seen the cases with Facebook around privacy, Cambridge Analytica, all of these things. Privacy and my data, it's mine, I own it, let me keep hold of it, you're not allowed it. That is the sentiment behind consumers at the moment. So we need to be aware of that, because if we're looking at hyper-personalization, what's the first thing they're going to think? How do you know that? How do you know that about me? Propensity to buy. God, how did he know to phone me up right now? So we need to just be really aware of this, because it's really exciting, but we can actually do harm if we're not careful to our reputations with consumers and other people. And authenticity. In a world where everybody is generating everything with ChatGPT, big statement, but there's a lot out there, be authentic. And it's really easy to fall into the trap of going, well, ChatGPT can just write that for me. And that's fine, right? That's fine. If it's going to do 70, 80% of the work for you, but you're going to do that bit on top, or might be 95% and 5% if it gets better and better. Just remember, you've got to be authentic as a brand, because consumers can see through ChatGPT. I don't know if you've ever received an email and thought, pretty sure that's been written by ChatGPT. All of a sudden it loses meaning, right? Well, okay, they don't really care about me that much. So authenticity is really, really important. So, questions then. How long have we got for questions? Like a minute?
I agree with what you said about content marketing. Can you just scroll back to the image with the cat, big cat?
The big cat?
Yeah, the big cat. Right. So
we are going way back.
There's a lot of cats. So
It's the fact you had to specify, sorry. That one.
Right. So if we look at this, how much ChatGPT is in light. If you actually look at the cat there between the eyes, there's an orange.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's not the silver bullet that is going to happen. So this is one of the issues. And obviously with the investors' hat on, right? They're not going to want to invest in companies that say we're the new next AI thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I agree with the same with the content marketing, but you have to be aware. You know that image. You know, it's occluded between the two eyes. So it does very specific things very, very well, but it can't recreate the same cat twice, identically.
Yeah, but I think just bear in mind, this is probably a year or so ago. Obviously, Midjourney's moved a long way, as I sort of showed in the later slides. I think, you know, the reason why I wanted to talk today, and why not like in operations or in finance, right? Why did I come along as a marketing person? Now, the reason is that we've been looking at AI for a couple of years, right? We're not AI experts. I really would stress that. I'm not an expert in AI, I'm an expert in marketing. But marketing, if you look at the output of the early forms of ChatGPT, content, right? Marketing people produced probably the most content, in terms of professionals anyway, and for business and for consumers, that it became a really powerful tool. And because it's on the internet, again, those of us who work in digital marketing, clients are looking at us and going, do you know anything about this? And that's why we're interested, and that's why we're riding the wave at the front. But I don't profess to be an AI expert.
I agree. I've sold prompts already, online, physical prompts, but I think this kind of technology, especially with the developers in the room, it's not the silver bullet just yet, and make people aware.
Yeah, I've got some interesting stories about people using AI for programming and development, and some surprising outcomes, including my own. What I would say, just add final point, and then I'll finish because Martin's giving me the eyes. We were earlier over. I know of an agency in Europe that's got 200 plus staff, so quite a reasonably large agency in terms of digital marketing. And they produce somewhere in the region of 4,000 articles per month within their organisation. And each one of those articles during COVID times was taking around 4 hours to produce. So you're talking 16,000 person hours to produce. They've now got that down to 20 minutes per article. So when we're talking about 60% of people being affected, another way of looking at that is 60% efficiencies gained within organisations. And if business leaders can get their heads around 50% efficiency gains and what that might mean to their profit margins, then I think it's understandable why you can see big businesses starting to adopt it. I'm going to close there because it's your turn to speak. I'll get us back to where I was. Thank you.